Valentine's planning starts now. Get ahead of the game with 1-800-Flowers XOXO sale and save 20% on gifts for the ones you love. For 50 years, 1-800-Flowers has made Valentine's special by delivering millions of high-quality roses with unmatched reliability. Right now, save 20% on premium bouquets, all backed by their 7-day freshness guarantee. This XOXO sale ends February 5th, so don't wait. Save 20% at 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast.
Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? Oh my god, it's the coolest thing ever. It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country, anywhere nationwide. I've never found a more perfect Valentine's gift. They ship Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garten's famous cakes. Seriously. So, if you're looking for a Valentine's Day gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT.
I'm Kamika Dillard, certified ACC professional coach and CEO of S.A.V.E Forward Coaching. At S.A.V.E Forward Coaching, professional growth isn't one size fits all. That's why we've created 3 ways to support you. DOT for building clarity and direction, RISE for resilience and intentional action, and VISION for long-term strategy and leadership. Each program is designed to help you move through setbacks with confidence and clarity and create momentum that lasts. No pressure, no hustle, just real progress. Ready to explore what's possible? Book a free discovery call at SAVEforwardcoaching.com. Welcome to the Black Women Will Save Black Women podcast, the podcast where we support, amplify, validate, and elevate Black women always. I'm your host, Kamika Dillard, and this is our sanctuary, a space built on the belief that when Black women show up for each other, we don't just survive, we save. This is more than a podcast. This is a movement, so let's get into it. So for this week's Fail Forward File, I almost slipped into an old pattern, y'all. I almost did it. I caught myself. So it is winter. This season has been full. Between me running 30-day test prep, S.A.V.E Forward Coaching, Black Women Will Save Black Women, my consulting firm, my plate is beyond loaded professionally, of course. And then before we even get to the rest of my life, my eldrin, i.e. my mom that I'm raising, who just requires a lot. I'm a sister, I'm an aunt, I have lots of friends, so I have a lot of roles that require my time, my energy, my patience, as well as my presence. And yet I caught myself doing the very thing that I always coach other women not to do, which is stretching myself thin because I wasn't honoring my own boundaries. Let me say this clearly, very clearly, y'all. Someone else's urgency does not equate to urgency for you. I am in a season of slowness. I've been telling everyone it is winter. Winter is not the time for us to be running at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Winter is truly meant for us to slow down, not to sprint. It is a time to rest, to move intentionally, to do less so that we can actually hear ourselves and reconnect with ourselves. And I realized that I wasn't honoring the season I claim to be in, which is winter, which is a slow season. So when I found myself doing this, I actually stopped. I paused. I recognized what I was doing, and I reassessed in that exact moment when I was like, oh, I'm trying to take too many episodes of the podcast at once. This person wants me to be here at this time. That person wants me to do all that. I actually stopped and I started declining. I started going back, telling people, nope, I can't do it now. Let me go back and let you know when I can do it, when I will do it, et cetera, et cetera. I pushed back and I chose myself. And I want to encourage you to do the same. When you notice yourself doing the most for everyone else while abandoning the boundaries you set for yourself, pause. Remember what you promised yourself before you promise anything to anyone else. That's really failing forward. I caught it, I interrupted it, and I chose different. And that's this week's Fail Forward File, y'all. All right. So let's get into this week's guest. So today is an expert episode. We are bringing Dr. Asia King into the sanctuary. Dr. Asia King is a licensed professional clinical counselor and founder of Brave Defiance Consulting. She helps high performing professionals who are burnt out and lonely reconnect with themselves and others without abandoning their ambition. She's also the creator of Lioness Den of Self-Love, a school, SKOOL community focused on rest, emotional honesty, and healing beyond survival mode. Let's welcome to the sanctuary, Dr. Asia King.
Hey everybody, how are you? Thank you for having me on. This is amazing.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. How are you?
I am well. I'm staying away from, I'm fine, I'm doing okay, and being more intentional about my responses. I am taking it slow and respecting and honoring what I need. So I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Very proud of myself.
I love it. I wish that when people ask how you are doing, we are always just honest about how we are doing. Like,
Yeah,
why are we fronting and why are we being robotic with our answers? So even
yeah.
today when I came into the studio and the producer asked me, well, how are you doing? I'm like, not doing that great today. I'm
Yep,
not.
yep, yep,
I'm
yep.
not. But
And
we're
that's real.
here and that's fair. But at least let's
That's real.
acknowledge and call it what it is. So
Exactly.
awesome. So I was super excited, and I know everyone's like, you're always excited. I am always excited, but I was really excited after we had our intake call to really talk to you about what Black women are really experiencing around corporate burnout. And you named it so like eloquently in terms of the systematic oppression of being in white workplaces. And I want us to really kind of take some time to really deep dive and dissect that.
Mhm.
So tell me what you are seeing in terms of with Black women in this burnout, and what does it look like, and what's
Yeah.
really happening?
Yeah. I mean, I have an array of clients that I see. And even my sorority sisters, my friends, who are running major organizations and stuff. And so it was one day when me and one of my friends, actually two of my friends, we went out to a sauna and cold plunge,
Ooh,
and which is amazing. I would encourage all of y'all to try it. I am not no cold girl, but it really did something. So, they got something going on. So we did that, and it was a Monday. And my friend, she said, look around. And we looked around, and there was nothing but white men, white women on a Monday, like noon.
mm,
She said, you don't see us here. She said, I want to get to the point where I can run around the lake at 11 o'clock in the morning, or I can come to the sauna and cold plunge at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. She said, we're home or in our offices, busting our asses when they've got this life that affords them to rest. She said, I want to get like that. And I was like, well, we kind of like that because we're here with them.
that part.
So so let's not underestimate ourselves. But I got what she was saying, because when I'm working with my African American clients or my Black clients, period, the burnout in corporate world where it's predominantly white is you're doing good work, but a lot of times there's this dingling of the carrot depending on your role of the promise of more. You do more, and that whole narrative of we got to work twice as hard, that's a narrative that we've gotten stuck in that has killed us. Work twice as hard to be just as equal as our white counterparts, and it's not true, because no matter how hard you work, you're never considered equal.
That part.
It's, so we're in this space of always trying to prove ourselves, never to finally, we never get to the point of really being recognized for the work that we do. And yeah, some folks do. So this isn't for everybody who out there listening and saying, well, I got to where I am. Yeah, all right, I hear you. But for our people, a lot of our folks are overworking themselves, overextending themselves, missing time with family, missing time with themselves, going in this loop of feeling like they're crazy. You know, we go often of like those. I know you said you don't like microaggressions because they're loud aggressions, but we call them microaggressions because it's the stuff that you can't really report to HR.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to pinpoint, you know, they stop talking to you. They stop talking when you enter the conference room. You know, who are you going to tell that to, right? And so it's you're trying to make sense of a world that doesn't make sense while still keeping it together to hold your position, make your money, and still run your household. Whereas, you know, I get my white clients, and I mean, they're being offered opportunity, 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 opportunity. And I'm hearing about the resources. They got cabins and lakefronts and it's very different. It's very different from my black, brown, and indigenous brothers and sisters when it comes to working in corporate America versus my white clients. So yeah.
So I'm looking and I'm starting to get clients, and actually prior to our call, I'm coaching. I'm working with someone who got laid off, and
Mm-hmm,
she's having such a hard time with disconnecting her worth to her productivity.
mm-hmm,
So even, with me saying, hey, this is a time to rest, I think we're up to 1 million Black women who have been laid off since this administration has come in. And hearing all the stories, collectively, we're all tired, we're exhausted. We've been
mm-hmm,
performing, we've been overperforming, we've been trying to do all the right things. And yet, we still can't take take a look at what has happened to us, which has been systemic. We have to acknowledge that it is not accidental that all these Black women have lost their jobs. Yet
mm-hmm.
we aren't finding the peace that we need during this time to rest, reset, so that we can figure out what the next move is. Where do you think this whole our inability to rest and relax even post a trauma comes from?
Mhm. And that's good because when you talk about rest and relax, well, what does that look like?
Hmm.
Well, what am I supposed to do? Sit in the bed all day? What?
I don't know. I mean, the advice that I'm giving is right. What would it look like? I ask this question a lot. What would it look like if you had unlimited resources, no worries in the world? What would you do?
Mhm, mhm, mhm. And that's a good question. And far too long we've been conditioned like, you know, work and then you get your paid, what's that, paid time off,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So you work to get these hours and then we vacation and then we break. So it's like if I have unlimited resources, I even find that folks have a hard time dreaming and imagining, you know, because you get so used of the rigmarole and the routine of clocking in to work. And so that is a great question. But I think for us, it's like we don't. It doesn't feel like there's room to dream.
Mm.
Dreaming doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel real. You know, like, yeah, I got unlimited resources, but is that my reality? You know? And so here I am, then got laid off. I had one particular woman got laid off and has been laid off for over a year from the government. Soon as the administration came in, chopped. And so she's trying to figure out, you know, well, how do I reposition myself? And then don't be an older woman,
Mm.
right? So it's hard for folks to just hard for us to really imagine, and the fear of slowing down. You know, the fear of slowing down looks like, am I going to lose my momentum? Will I lose my edge of being in the know? Some people can't, some people Sitting feels actually more dangerous and more traumatic than doing something, because when you sit and you rest, all the thoughts flood, all the things come in. Some people use work as a form of distraction, and we're taking for granted that it's just that person. So imagine, you lose your job, you're trying to rest and slow down, you still got a husband that ain't well,
Mm.
a mother-in-law or a mother that you got to work with, kids, health. So a lot of times it's not just us losing the job, it's losing that identity that didn't connect with the other pieces of your life. I don't know who I am without my career. So what do I do? And so I think it's hard for people to just really rest in that, because well, what were you doing before then? You weren't really doing the work, or you were trying to do the work, but there was no room to really sit in it and rejoice in it. So now you got to really sit with yourself, and that's hard.
It is hard, but what would you advise folks to do post layoff in terms of sitting in it and resting?
What I usually advise folks to get in community, be with others. Like, just because you're not working doesn't mean there aren't other spaces that you can still find fulfillment. Let's look at hobbies in the meantime. Now, this isn't, you still got a living to make, sure, but let's get you with a job coach. Let's get you in community. Networking, events are really good. They have a networking group called B3 up here in Minnesota, where I'm located, and it is Black ran by S.A.V.E, and he is very intentional about this. Isn't a place, because you go to networking events and folks give out cards and get with me, and nobody ever gets with you for real. So S.A.V.E basically says that if you're going to network, you need to make sure that you're not coming and taking. You need to also be giving. So I've been referring people, to LeBrant, but I'm telling folks that no matter where you are in your career phase, make sure you're holding community. Don't become an island. Don't be isolated. Be able to hear from others so you can generate ideas of what to do next. Get a hobby. You are not your career. You are not just your job, right? You need to go dance. You need to learn how to do pottery. You need to go learn to do archery. You need to learn how to sew. Like, do something that really brings out creativity. Move your body. We get so stiff and so stuck in our ways that it stays in our body. So I'm all about not just the practical pieces, but also the somatic pieces. Talk to your circle, talk to your friends, and if nothing else, get you a good therapist, because this is hard. This is hard. There's no one way to heal, especially, Target had that massive layoff. I think around about November, December, end of the year, Christmas time.
Yep.
Laid a whole bunch of folks off, and they discharge people who make the most, because if you're trying to save money, you're gonna cut the folks with the right. So you think about those folks that gave 20 years, 20 years. Now what do I do? Right? So it's not just one solution, but definitely make sure you're not isolating yourself. Cry, feel what you need to feel. This isn't about like suck it up, buttercup, get over it. Feel what you need to feel. That's real. And be honest about it. Don't just say you're fine. Really say, I'm struggling right now.
I love us naming what we're going through, but I also want us to acknowledge that we can't tie our identities to these workplaces. And for some weird reason, and maybe because I've experienced multiple layoffs. This is not my first rodeo, and we joke as millennials, and hey, we've been through so many unprecedented events in our whole lifetime since we were kids that what was supposed to be the standard for our parents was never going to be the standard for us. Like, every time we think we're getting ahead, there's something that knocks us 3 steps back, et cetera, et cetera. I want us to talk to the people who are still working, because I know that the show was centered around people who have been laid off, but I think there has to be a shift for the women, especially the Black women who are still currently employed, and holding space in these places that aren't meant for us. And we know that community is important. What type of tips should we be thinking through to give to those women who are seeing the chaos around them? And how can they be proactive in their approach to ensuring that they're just not enveloped in their work?
Yeah. Start. I think every person should have a hobby. And I'm big on hobbies because
Me
it's
too.
like outside of what you went to school for, a lot of folks leave America and they go, I know folks leave corporate America, go open a food truck. Go, there's a lady that I've worked with. She does like diaper stations at festivals. So diaper and changing stations for, families and stuff. Have something else outside of your job because they own it. It's theirs. I tell folks often, unless you're going to retire out of here, this is not your forever. For some people, it's not, but that's a very low population. Like you said, our parents taught us go to school, get you a job, retire out of there. Stay as long as you can. I could never understand folks that stayed 40 years at a job. I'm like, you like that, folks, for that long? Like you could be. I could not get that. And I remember getting into the work world thinking, okay, I got to find something and stay. But that hasn't been my story. I've been to, I can't even count different places. But what I learned was don't get comfortable, learn what you need to learn, but at some point, know when you've stopped growing in an organization, um, understand when you've hit your cap. Because sometimes people stay out of comfort.
Yep.
It's just comfortable.
And fear.
Not and fear. They're tired, they know the job, but they don't really like it. It's just you don't want to go meet new coworkers. You don't want to learn a new system. You have to stay curious.
Mm.
Stay curious, stay open. Visit other talk to your friends about what they're experiencing in their workplaces and what the culture is like, But I'm encouraging people who are still working, have a backup plan. Have a backup plan because if for any reason they decide that their work isn't scaling or they can't keep up with the economy, what are you going to do?
No, I'm with you. I think where
Yeah.
people are like, okay, have a backup plan. That sounds like have a side hustle. Well, I don't know what to do. I don't
Mhm.
know what I should be doing, et cetera, et cetera. What's your advice for people when you say have a backup plan?
Once again, find your interest. Stay. So this is the part where, you have to start looking at routine. And so burnout is about, not feeling connected with yourself, losing joy, losing interest, right? Because we get in what I call the autopilot professional.
Mm.
You you get up, get your kids to school, grab your cup of coffee, head out the door, go to work, do your 9 to 5, get your kids from school, go home, cook dinner, go to bed. And some folks really, have that kind of routine. And I'm not saying routine isn't good, but you start to lose your sense of wonder. You lose your sense of playfulness.
Yes.
I do a lot of lectures and trainings and stuff, and you all the time, every training is experiential. So we're gonna do something, right? You ain't gonna just hear me talk. We gonna have fun because one of the big things is as adults we lose our sense of play.
Yep.
We get so serious and so bills, family, job. And then now, yeah, you can't do a side hustle or do anything of hobby or be with other folks because you're mechanical and you lose fantasy, you lose your ability to imagine yourself outside of that role. That's why I love folks that do cosplay. I love dressing up. I dressed up as I don't know, some girl out of a comic. I can't even remember the girl's name. But I had on my cape. I had on the big ring and some stockings. And I didn't do it good, but I had so much fun. I had so much fun. During my sessions, I love Halloween. I got my Killer Clowns mug that I'll have. And I love it because if I keep a youthful spirit, if I stay curious in my routine, then that anyway that anything that happens or it shows up, I've got something to attach joy to.
Mm,
I have something that I can connect because my I'm not just a therapist.
mm.
I'm not just a mom or a sister. I'm a woman that likes to travel. I'm a woman like to dress up. I'm a woman that likes I pole dance for fun.
Come
I
on
pole
now.
baby, listen, 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 listen. And every year we have a what they call it like a review, and I do my review. And that is my piece so that no matter what happens, I'm not just one dimensional.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And you know what's funny is I don't think people realize the power of playfulness because it keeps your imagination going.
Mhm.
It keeps you
Mhm.
like you said something about being curious and stuff. And you know, curiosity, you know, they say curiosity kills the cat, but like a cat has 8 lives. Curiosity almost allows you to continue to reinvent and
Yeah.
keep you thinking about something
Yeah.
new and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I love like let's get curious again. Let's get playful again. I
Yeah.
cuz I have hobbies. I golf, I bow, you know,
Yes.
I had things, you know, and you know, I always say even with everything I do, it's like you will never I'm never going to be just one thing or even attached to something professionally. And maybe that's why I'm having a better, maybe, I don't want to say like I'm better dealing because I did roll around on the ground for 60 days. I mourned losing my job, but I'm also
Mhm.
recognizing that I'm not just Kamika professional. Like I started at
Mhm.
at the top of the episode, I'm a mom. I mean, I'm not a mom. I'm an aunt. I'm a sister. I take care of my
Mhm.
mom. I'm a daughter. I'm a friend. I'm a soror. Like I have all
Mhm.
these things that like encompasses who I am. And I want that for more Black women. We are not just what we produce.
No, I get so tired of going. When I finally mingle, I hate being in stiff places. I hate wearing suits. I hate going, oh, I'm Asia, I'm Dr. King. No. And my friends will be like, this is Dr. King. I'm like, stop. I'm Asia to y'all. I'm Dr. King to the rest of the world. Like, stop it, like, stop it. And I hate being stiff, but when I got to, you always deal with the same conversations of like, hey, how you doing, what's going on with you, and when you ask people what they're doing, they always like to tell you their agenda of their job and their work, and oh, I'm so busy, and you don't get to know folks on a personal level because we hide behind this wall of busyness and professionalism and my title. I don't even like to tell folks I'm a whole psychologist because, first of all, they like to think I'm psychic. I don't know why folks think they can you read my mind? I'm like, what the hell? Like, yo, I'm not psychic. Or if you talk to folks, they think you're analyzing them. And I'm like, look, you ain't paid me enough to try to figure out your trauma. I already can do it. Listen. But we have to your job, your career, what you've worked for, it carries. And so for some folks, it really carries meaning, especially if you're first generation anything, right? First generation in college, first generation out your neighborhood, first generation. And so we're not saying back up from that, but we're saying, there's so many more parts to you,
So many
you
more.
know? There's so many more parts. I just found out that there's a whole community of therapists that do dominatrix work and sex work. And that ain't my jam. But more power to you. And more power to you,
We're having a
right?
sex expert come on very soon to
I
talk about
love
that.
it.
Yes.
Yeah, Yes, because everybody acts so stiff around all these topics, and we're human. There's not one person I haven't met that isn't dealing with the human experience in one way or another. I'm very honest. Like, we are sexual, we are heathens, we are great, we are horrible, all in one mix. I know somewhere in the world I am somebody's hero and I am somebody's villain. Oh well, you
Well,
know.
well, you bring up being human, and I think, with everything that's happening with in America, well, not even just America, I think in the world in general, because I talk to a lot of women all over the world. They dehumanize us. We've
Mm-hmm.
been dehumanized. We have been relegated to just being a number. We're not supposed to feel. We don't, they don't believe our pain thresholds, like all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. What can we do as a community, knowing that, hey, we're not being treated as humans? How can we remind ourselves that we are human?
Mm-hmm. Stop using them as a threshold of acceptance.
Uh-oh. Go a little deeper, Asia. Go a little deeper now.
Stop using them as a threshold. What they say, white is right.
Mm.
Like, we use them as the marker of success. It's always that comparison. Well, white folks do it. If white folks can do it, I can do it. It's like, no, like, they are not the marker of success. So if you don't meet the marker, then something is wrong with you. We are our own marker of success. Stop looking to them. That's one thing I love about cultures that really honor their culture. They look within themselves. I don't know if we have all sorts of Black heroes, right? All sorts of Black heroes. But we got our go-to heroes, Malcolm, Martin, name them, Rosa Parks. We got our go-to folks. But what about the heroes in our own community?
Mm.
How do we lift them up? Where do we honor the grandmas that still watch out for folks coming home from school? I grew up in the time when we had a candy man in the neighborhood. Ain't no more candy man.
Oh, R.I.P. Mr. Holly. He was our candy man.
Yeah, my candy man was right around the corner. I used to take my grandma's quarters, jump the fence, and go get Reese's cups because he sold a full-time size one. I jumped the fence again, be in the back room eating candy, watching Darkwing Duck, right? And so we don't we need to honor more of us as the example of success.
Mm.
We measure it according to whiteness, but that's systematic.
It
That's
is.
systematic, right? But if we can move away from that to start looking at the local heroes, the teachers, the politicians, even nobody who doesn't have a title, the folks who are just, I love going to my grocery store and seeing the same clerk there. It's about community and family and knowing that we are special without title. We are special without the credentials. We have a lot of great jewels within us. We just have to see it within ourselves.
And we know this to be true because we say that without Black culture, there will be no culture in America. There will be no culture in America. We start all the trends. We say what makes everything cool. They go and then they try to bite us and don't give us credit. We already know this. We need
Mm-hmm.
to remind ourselves, especially during this time, like, and we know we're seeing it anyway with
Mm-hmm.
what's happening since you're in Minnesota. Black people aren't participating in what is happening, and we know that the needle is not moving how they think it should move because Black women specifically have said, "We gonna sit this out. Y'all gonna fix your own mess."
I love it.
So we
I
already
love it.
know how much power and how much influence and how we move things around. We just need to remind ourselves consistently about it. So
Absolutely.
I want to talk about your program that you created called "Putting Me First, Get Over It."
Mm.
And I would love for you to kind of tell us, how did you create the program? What was the basis for creation of the program, and tell us a little bit about it.
Absolutely. So Putting Me First, Get Over It is on a platform called School, SKOOL. It's in a relatively new platform, which I just kept on seeing on Facebook. And
Yep.
so I was like, I love Facebook. And so I jumped on, and it allows you to take what you want to do and not just, you know, how we just kind of post, but this is an opportunity to bring people to your school to get fully engaged in your content. So we're talking, you know, we have live sessions, we're chit chatting, you know, about what we're going through. And so mine is, you know, I'm putting myself first, get over it. It really just came out of, where did it come from? I think somebody had made me mad, and I was like, you know what? Can I cuss on the show or no?
You've been cursing already. Keep going.
On hell. Okay. Hey, well, it was a moment where I was like, fuck this shit. And I was like, you know what? I'm always looking after everybody. I'm always checking in on everybody, but people forget to check on me.
Mm.
So I mean, not that I wasn't already doing what I wanted to do, but yeah, I was like, this is the year 2026 where I'm really going to like take care of myself. I'm going to say more no to things that don't feel good. I'm going to say yes to more things that are challenging. I'll still check in, but I'm gonna check in when I feel like I want to check in and not feel bad about it. You know, not feel like, oh, you know, maybe you should help them. No, hell no. Let them help themselves. Everybody got the same opportunity as me. Help yourself, right? And so I wanted to create a place where we can get out of that feeling like we got to do for others and abandon ourselves. We got to stop abandoning ourselves. Like, if you don't want to participate, say no. I had somebody at a meeting today, and the we were talking about a business deal or whatnot, and the guy was asking me to kind of use my platform to do something, and I said, you know, I know what will come with this, and I don't want to be tapped out for time, so I'm going to say no to this. And you know, a lot of times we don't say no because we're afraid of how people are going to feel or how they're going to react. I was already like, get over it. You know, it'll be okay. The world ain't going to fall apart. So, not paying attention, not being mean or nothing. I ain't saying going and being an ass, but just being able to say no and just know that whatever you say, the other person can handle their feelings. You're responsible for your feelings. It's not for me to save you while I'm trying to save myself. Because, you know, so many times people told me no, and I had to keep myself together. So why can't I trust that you can keep yourself together? So this platform is about letting women come in to really just be themselves, talk about the day-to-day stuff, and build tools on how to put themselves first, guilt-free.
Yeah. I mean, we have to save ourselves first before we can save anyone else anyway.
Mhm.
We already had an expert on talking about putting our mask on first. We know we got to put our mask on first before we can go and save the people around us. We can't pour from an empty cup, which a lot of us is doing right now, completely depleted, and then
Mhm.
upset that people aren't showing up in the way that you expect them to. Well, everybody's tired, sis. And we got to focus a little bit on ourselves before we can go and do anything. Can you share any of the tools that you are within the program that you are helping women to maybe focus on? I know when we had our call, you talked about we don't have to keep setting goals. And I
Mm.
love that because I have a whole board full of goals and I'm like, well, oh, that's hard.
Right, right, right. Right, right. I mean, goals are cool. It helps us to kind of look forward to something for sure. But, you know, once you reach a goal, you find that you're still not fully fulfilled. You know, so set a goal, but chew on it for a while. You know, take your time with it. A lot of times we want instant gratification because we watching folks get millions of followers, or
Mm,
you know, this person uh got folks coming to their restaurant or whatever you're trying to do, and you don't know the behind the scenes of what that person had to do. So then you get frustrated with yourself because you don't feel like you're moving as fast.
Mm.
And and I had another call today because I'm expanding my business, and the guy asked me, he said, "Well, how soon do you want all this to happen?" I said, "Between 90 to 180 days." He said, "Whew, thank you." He said, "Because most folks want to do it within 30 days." I said, "Well, that's not realistic." I said, "What I'm trying to build is not a popcorn establishment. I want to sit and chew and marinate so that I look at this so much that when I talk about it, it just rolls off my tongue." I said, "But that's going to take some time. I got to look at it's a slow burn, but be okay with the slow. Be okay with the slow. Just because you're not at the million or the 50 folks coming today to your restaurant does not mean you're not on track. Your journey is not the same as everybody else's. Don't look left, don't look right, don't look back." In the Bible, who was it? The can't think of the lady's
Lot.
name.
Lot and his
She looked
wife. Mm-hmm.
what they said, don't look back. What did she do?
She looked back and turned into a
What
pillar of
happened to her?
salt. Okay.
What happened to her?
She turned into a pillar of salt.
Because you look back. Stop looking back. Stop looking to the side. You got to look forward. Your path is your path. So this is a place where we're teaching folks like, don't get distracted by what you see. Trust your process. Know that every day that you put something towards it is part of building the building, eating the elephant, climbing the mountain. You got to trust your process. The social comparison is going to be the death of all of us.
Listen, and it already is killing some of us. And
Yeah.
one thing I'm like, I'm struggling with is, there's this pull that I'm experiencing
Mm.
of I know what I'm doing right now, Asia, is the right thing. I know this platform is the right thing. I know my coaching business is the right thing. I know my test prep is the right thing. What I'm building is the right thing. But there's this
Yes.
little voice in the back of my head that's telling me, go back to corporate.
Mm.
The money is guaranteed.
Mm.
You're not making enough money right now, Kamika. There's all these voices that's telling me, oh, if you go back, the money will start coming back in immediately. And I
Mhm.
guess what I would love for us to have is a message as we kind of start to wrap this up for women who are trying to figure out what that next step is and
Mm.
understand that things will happen quickly, but it's okay if things are slow and steady. So, what would be your advice to someone like me who might be experiencing this pull between all these different elements? That's like, we know what we should be doing. We know that this job hasn't served us. We know that we might have been on this job for too long. We know that we should be listening to our instinct and stuff. What's your message to those women who are doubting the path and the progress and the growth and the speed?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So recognize that that is a part. That is not all of you. That is just a part of you that is second guessing. And instead of being mad at that part, let's embrace that part like a child. Because all that part is it's really just trying to protect you. It's trying to protect you from failure. It's trying to protect you from the unknown. It's trying to protect you from embarrassment. I mean, you pick your own protection, but it's just a protective part. And so if we could stop beating ourselves up over what comes up and start looking at these parts as just a portion, not the whole. Because the major pool is like, nah, we staying out of corporate America. We ain't going back to that slave drive. We ain't doing that. Been there, done that. I ain't going back. But that other part is like, yeah, but yeah, but, and instead of us being frustrated with it, ask that part of you, what are you afraid of? What do you need from me to know that I got your back? I ain't gonna let us fail.
Mm.
I know we've had some setbacks, but we've always bounced back. And I did it by doing this. I did my resume. I started podcast. And you run down to that part of you that I'm not going to let us fall. Thank you for your awareness. Thank you for caring about me, because that part really wants you to not to survive. And we got to appreciate, like, you want me to have a job. I appreciate that, you know. So don't be mad at yourself. Get curious with that part of you. Invite it to the table. Invite it to the table. I tell my clients that our parts are like the clumps. If you know about the clumps at
Yep.
the table, yep, everybody talking, and Eddie Murphy and Janet Jackson, they sitting there quiet and observant. And that's our true self. We're quiet and observant as our parts are just running amok. But know that you are the head of the table. And we want to get those parts not to go away, but to recognize that you are in control. You do have a plan and you love every bit of them, and none of them are wrong because they're trying to protect you. So if we could just take away that nothing is, that what comes up doesn't need to be banished, it needs to be embraced.
I love it. Embrace the fear. How have Black women saved you? Support, amplify, validate, elevate.
Oh man. I got some amazing Black folks. My sorors, they be lifting me up. My mama, she be lifting me up. My grandma used to lift me up. Like, I've always had Black women that have looked out for me to say, Asia, I know you're better than that. Asia, do this. Asia. Like, the encouragement has always been there. So Black women have always shown me love. That's why I don't get any, understand that bitterness that sometimes happens, and it does. But I've always had great Black women that have shown me, girl, you got it. You are your own boss. You are the lead. You are the head and not the tail. Go out and make forth what you want this world to see. You own it. So when I go out and I go on stage or I'm presenting, baby, y'all here to my show.
I know
What's
that's
up?
right. I know
That's
that's
right.
right. Where can the people find you?
Absolutely. You can find me at www.brave-defiance.online. That is my website where if you want to get sessions or coaching. So if anybody's listening to this and you're out of state, I don't just do therapy, I also do transformation coaching. So if you like what you heard today, there's more where that comes from. You can find me on the school platform. Just put in Dr. Asia King, the Lioness Den. It's called the Lioness Den, baby, because the lioness, they go out, they get the food, they really make it work for the family. Okay, so trust and believe. When you come to the den, we're going to give you strength, we're going to give you hope, and we're going to get you focused on what really matters to you so that you can start giving back to yourself.
I love it. Thank you, Dr. Asia King. You've been wonderful. This has been
Thank you. This was
beautiful.
amazing. This was
Yes.
amazing. Beautiful platform. You're doing great work. I love it.
Thank you so much. Dr. Asia dropped so many gems in the sanctuary today, and I'm overwhelmed, and it really did pour into me. I hope it's poured into you. So let's close it out with this week's SAVE strategy. We're going to flip the E from elevate to enforce. Enforce the boundaries you set. Enforce the boundaries that you have set, not just with yourself, but with others. Boundaries are important. Enforce the rest in a season that is asking you to slow down. We're in winter still, y'all. I keep going back. Enforce your no even when someone else's request is urgent, because someone else's urgency does not require urgency from you. If you find yourself doing the most for everyone else while quietly abandoning yourself, please pause. Check the season that you're in. Remember what you promised yourself before you promised anything to anyone else. Enforcement isn't harsh, it's honest, it's how we protect our energy, our capacity, and our future self. So this week, I invite you to enforce what matters: your boundaries, your pace, and your peace. And that is this week's S.A.V.E strategy. As always, like, subscribe, follow Black Women Will Save Black Women wherever you get your podcasts. Follow Black Women Will Save on all social media platforms. Follow me, Kamika T. Dillard on Instagram, Miss KT Dillard on TikTok. I'm on the Clock app, y'all, and it's gotten me a little bit addictive. As always, support, amplify, validate, elevate. That's how we save each other. And never forget that Black women will save Black women. I'm your host, Kamika Dillard. Have a good day.